Hi and welcome to my channel. So when you move to the UK, one of the top priorities that will be in your mind is how can I get my family to join me in the UK? How can I get my kids to join me in this country? How can I get my parents, my husband, my wife, my partner, whoever it is? So in this video, I'm going to be focusing on the UK dependent visa because the UK Home Office and Immigration Services have recently made some changes on who you can bring to the UK as a dependent and what requirements you need to show as evidence, that will enable you to bring that particular dependent. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Whether you're a student or you're on a work visa, you are able to bring your dependents to the UK. So this is a visa that so many people hold compared to actually student visas and work visas. So if you're new to my channel, obviously you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate your time. And if you're planning to move to the UK or you're already in the UK, then you 100% want to watch this video till the end because the changes that have been made are so important and you 100% want to know about them. Sometimes some of these changes are not necessarily announced by the Home Office per se. They don't make a lot of noise about it. But if you're not constantly checking their websites, then it is really difficult to understand those changes. And you don't want to get your visa rejected, which is why I take the time to share these, videos with you. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do want to hit subscribe right now. Turn on that notification button so you're the first to be notified every single time when I drop a new video on here. So who is a dependent? Who can you bring with you to the UK as a dependent? And what are the requirements that you need to show? What is the evidence in order to bring that person? So again, that's what we're going to be focusing on. And by the way, before I get started, I have a newsletter where I share information about free visa sponsorship opportunities to move to the UK or to switch your visa if you're already in this beautiful country, as well as work from home jobs that you can do without those geographical limitations, those geographical boundaries, without the need to even move. Because the truth is that some people are happy where they are and they don't necessarily want visas and all of that to move. So many of these jobs are very highly paid. You don't need a degree, you don't need any qualification. All you need is your problem solving skills. So I'll send those directly to your inbox, as well as career progression opportunities here in the UK and side hustle ideas that you can start ASAP to earn extra money, whether you're already in the UK or you're still out of this country. So if you check the comment section below, you find a link to my newsletter once you join, and there's any update, then I send it directly to you. It will not take you up to 20 seconds to join. You just need to drop your name and email and you're part of it. Also, if you've got any questions, because I know that this dependent visa can be something that is very sensitive. If you've got any questions that you want to ask me privately, you can also check that newsletter. You'll find my WhatsApp contacts. You'll find my email address on there, as well as a newsletter, obviously. So you can use that to email me your questions, and then I'll be able to answer those, on my day off. I normally do that on my days off. So don't worry if you don't get any reply immediately, but I will eventually get to replying your message. So like we were saying, on dependence visas, obviously, you can have your partner, you can have your husband, you can have your wife, and you can have your kids under the age of 18. So I'm going to be focusing on each of these categories for the purpose, obviously, of this video. The first one that we're going to talk about is husband or wife. So you can bring your husband or your wife to the UK. And if you're bringing, your husband or wife, obviously, the evidence that you need to meet is if you're married, then you can include your marriage certificate because that's very important. Recently, one of the nurses that I know, she applied for her dependence visa and it was rejected because she did not include the original marriage certificate. So it's very, very important if you're married and you've mentioned that in your application that you're a married person, then the wedding certificate is mandatory. You should 100% add it to it. And obviously, she was able to appeal the decision and then resubmitted the wedding certificate, which then, the husband was granted a visa. But the truth is that this was a very stressful period for her, a terrible, catastrophe for the family. And you want to avoid all of these scenarios by providing the information that is needed on the first instance, which is why, again, I'm sharing this video here with you. So marriage certificate, you can also, like in some countries, they have like newspaper publications before the wedding. So if they do that in your country, you can include those as well. The main applicants can also write a letter to the Home Office. In fact, it's good practice always writing to the Home Office when you're doing any visa application to say, I, Melvis, for example, I'm living in the UK. I want to bring my husband XYZ to the UK. You write all of that. It's also really, really helpful because it's like you're giving your consent, for that process. Also, if you've got like any vacation photos, you've got any email communications, whether it's before or after you got married, any evidence literally that you can have, you can get hold of, you need to include. So if there's any evidence that you have and you're thinking, do I need to include this? Do I not? 100% include it. And by the way, you may be watching this and you're thinking, who on earth is this? So my name is Melvis. I currently live in England, so I'm in the UK. I work as an advanced nurse practitioner for the NHS. So I moved to the UK as an immigrant myself a few years ago. I started my journey working as a carer in a nursing home. I've done domiciliary care, I've done support work before I then transitioned into nursing as an international student here in the UK. Progressed beautifully in my career to now working as an advanced nurse practitioner. So I'm very passionate about career progression here in the UK. Because the reason why I'm moving here, is not to be average, is not to be mediocre, but is to be able to maximize the opportunities that this country brings. So I've got a private career coaching program where I support nurses, carers, students, student nurses, anybody that wants to move to the UK through any of the jobs that are currently offering visa sponsorship. My private coaching program will support you with that journey. Who is offering visa sponsorship? What is the best pathway for your personal circumstances? How do you apply? Who is recruiting? What does your CV need to look like? Interview preparation. What questions are they likely to ask? How do you respond? Career progression pathways. You're already a nurse, you're a carer. For example, you want to transition into nursing. What do you do? You're a student, you're trying to switch your visa. What do you do? How do you go about it? So I support with all of that, with tailored, individualized, and personalized support so that you can excel here in the UK. If you check the description box below or the about section of this channel, you're going to see a link to join my private coaching program, which, like I've said, is for anybody looking for visa sponsorship opportunities in the UK, nurses, carers, midwives, students, and prospective student nurses, because the career progression is key. Moving to the UK is great, but what you do with yourself once you get to this beautiful country, for me, is what matters. And if I was unable to progress in my career, there wouldn't be any need living in the UK with all the inconveniences that it brings being here. So that's why I dedicate time to supporting you with this process. So back to what we're talking about, so when we're talking about a husband or a wife, there's also unmarried partners. So you can also bring your dependent to the UK if you're unmarried. So you don't need to get married to bring the person to the UK, because this is something that people ask all the times. Melvis, I've got a dependent. We are not married yet. We need to get married so that I can bring my husband or wife to the UK. You don't have to get married to bring the person, but you do need to have evidence that you've been in a relationship with that person. For example, it could be photos, it could be videos, it could be communication, emails, text messages. The Home Office would accept any evidence that you've got. One thing that I would also like to say is that, if you're in a same-sex marriage, you can also bring your partner to the UK. So, it doesn't mean that if you're in a traditional marriage, let me call it that way, husband, wife, male, female, it doesn't matter. So same-sex couples can also come to the UK using a dependent visa, just so that you can note this, because the UK, is a country that is accepting of, our differences, is accepting of who we are, and does not really discriminate, which is why this country is so beautiful to live in, which is why the level of tolerance that I have found in this country is something that encourages many of us to continue to live here. So that's it for the dependents. If you've got any questions as I go along, please do leave them in the comment section below. If it's something that is private and personal, do feel free to use my newsletter, because you can email me on there directly and I'll be able to respond to you. You can also see my WhatsApp contact on there. But if you need that tailored, that individualized, that personalized support, whether it's to get, visa sponsorship opportunities to move to the UK, or to switch your visa if you're already in the UK, then consider joining my private coaching program, because that's where I offer that tailored support, because we've got the ample time to be able to go through your personal circumstances and have that detailed support and have that personalized support that you need in order to move forward. So I look forward to seeing you there if, this is something that you would benefit from, obviously. Otherwise, just feel free to follow my videos on here, follow the prompts, and be able to apply for the jobs, because that's the whole point. I share this information on here. So now let's talk about the kids. So if you've got your child, you can bring them to the UK, but your child needs to be less than 18 years old on the day of the application, which means that if your child is turning 18, you need to apply for the visa before they basically turn 18. Very important. But there is still an instance where you can apply for your child, to bring your child to the UK if they are older than 18. If your child has got learning disabilities, or they've got special needs, then you can still apply even if they are older than 18. So do take note of that. And you've got to have evidence as well, that your child has learning disabilities or they've got special needs, and you can apply even if they are older than 18, because you just have to have that evidence to show that your child is still depending on you, you know whether it is that they're living with you or is that they're not able to work, whatever reason it is, you just need to bring that evidence and you can get a visa. So many people get visas through this pathway to bring their kids who are over the age of 18. So with your kids, obviously, you need your birth certificate. That's the most important document because it's showing that you are the parent. If you're a single parent, for example, maybe you're a widow or a widower, it doesn't matter. You can still bring your kids to the UK. But all you need to do is provide the other evidence. If you've got like maybe certificate to show that, or you can even just write, because some of these things, you don't need to be like a lawyer or anything to do it. You can simply just write down that information. Remember, I said earlier that it's always good to have a letter when you're applying for a visa because it's good practice, really, to do that. So you can do that yourself, self-certified, that's what it's called, and add it to your documents. If you've got videos of your child, you've got photos, births, you've done any christening, things like that, you can also add the evidence. Again, the key here is that any evidence that you have, just add it. If you're not sure whether it's going to be helpful, it's going to be needed, just put the evidence in there, because it's always better to have more than to have less. Because if the Home Office feels that they need more information from you, they will contact you directly and ask for that information. But I'm going to say that if you are somebody who, you've got dependents and they are your real dependents, like it's your husband, it's your wife, it's your partner, it's your child, you don't need to worry, because even if they need a DNA test, you're able to do that because you are the parent. And I think this leads us beautifully to the next point. What if you've got an adopted child? Again, this is a scenario that one of the nurses in my private coaching program had, because she has adopted she's originally from Zimbabwe. She's adopted 3 kids, that she's been looking after. So when she moved to the UK, she was able to bring these kids with her because she has legal documents that she has adopted them. So again, if you've got adopted kids, you can bring them to the UK, but you need to have those legal adoption documents showing that you have legally adopted them. And then yes, the UK would obviously give visas to them so that they can join you in the UK as your dependents. Again, as with every rule, really, there are always exceptions. So you want to make sure that if you've got a very special circumstance, you seek advice, professional advice, so that somebody can advise you on the pathway to follow, to pursue, to be able to achieve your goal. Because the UK, some of these rules are very, very flexible. As long as you've got the evidence to back what you're trying to achieve, then you're likely to be successful. So these are the points obviously to have in mind, and I do hope that you found this helpful. If you haven't subscribed to my channel again, you do want to hit subscribe right now. Turn on that notification button so you're the first to be notified when I drop a new video on here. Also, if you haven't joined the newsletter, check the comment section below. You see a link to join, and then I can send that information directly to your inbox. Updates, career progression opportunities, free visa sponsorship opportunities, side hustle ideas, work from home jobs, and just any updates, changes that are coming up, and even good opportunities that I see in other countries, not just the UK. I'm more than happy to share them obviously with you. But if you need that tailored, that individualized, and that personalized support, then consider joining my private coaching program, because there I can be able to give you, we've got more time. We have weekly live sessions, we have one-to-one sessions, obviously, and it's just really a more detailed, a more structured way of supporting you, which is really what you need. Because watching YouTube videos like this is helpful, but it is very difficult to implement. It's very difficult to decide, where do I start? What do I do first? What do I do next? That is really the challenge that many people face before they actually obviously join my program. So I'm looking forward to seeing you, working with you and supporting you to achieve your goals, of moving to the UK and living beautifully in this country, making the most of all the opportunities that are available for you on here. I'll see you in the next video.